Hello there, and welcome to Master of Horror, where I give you the scariest stories that I've ever come by. I dig deep for only the scariest and the most truest paranormal stories that I'm certain will petrify you. Okay, my friends, now let's begin.
True, scary, paranormal story number 1. The Horned Creature.
Hi, I was born in 1983. Every summer I would visit my aunt's farm in South Wales. I was out in the countryside that had many acres of land with fields, forests, and streams. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, I had already spent a couple of summers there, and I knew the land quite well. I would spend 4 to 6 weeks there at a time. Because I was comfortable around the grounds, I never felt worried about exploring on my own. I would be hanging around the hay bales in the barn, or riding my mountain bike around the fields, or just generally looking around to see what I could find. But one day, it was musky and foggy outside, and also eerily silent. I was in the grassy fields next to the farmhouse. I wasn't doing anything exciting. To be honest, I can't even remember what I was doing there. Suddenly, I started hearing my name being called as clear as day. Michael, Michael, Mike. I looked around and I couldn't see anyone. Another nephew of my aunt, whose name was Nick, also lived on the farm. He's older than me, and he would always enjoy playing tricks on me whenever he got the chance. I thought it was him. I heard the voice calling out to me again. It was actually said in a manner that didn't sound panicked or menacing, but just trying to get my attention. I looked around and noticed, off in the distance, there was a horse stall, and I could see a person inside of it calling to me and waving their arms above their head, as you would expect when someone is trying to get your attention. "Nick, what are you doing in there?" I shouted as I started to walk towards the stall. I thought it must have been him, but from where I was standing, it didn't really look like him. It was really weird because whoever it was appeared to have horns on top of their head that curved backwards. I was quite far though, so I thought that Nick might have had a stupid hat on or something. I continued to walk closer, and as I did, the figure in the stalls seemed to fade. When I got there to the stall, it was completely empty. There was only one way a person could have gotten out, and that was directly in front of me. Not only that the horse stall was in the middle of a large field, and there was nowhere they could hide, but someone had definitely been there calling out to me and waving. They had a pair of horns on their head, and I definitely saw them fading as I approached. I ran straight back to the farmhouse and found Nick and my aunt and uncle sitting at the kitchen table. I asked Nick if he had been outside calling to me, and he laughed and said, "I've been here for hours, mate." Both my aunt and uncle confirmed this. To this day, I have no explanation as to who or what that thing in the horse stall was, but it's a memory I'll never, ever forget.
True, scary, paranormal story number 2. The Cabin Entity.
On January of 2014, my former best friend Samantha invited me and 6 others to come stay at a rental cabin for her birthday. The cabin had 2 stories with 6 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms with a jacuzzi on the outside porch, so we had plenty of space. After pizza and cake, we all went outside to hang out and make talk for a while. So after about 1 hour goes by, we all go back inside. However, this time, upon entering the cabin, it felt different. Everything in my body was telling me not to be there, and I started to feel sick. There was a sinister presence lurking in our midst, circling us like vultures. I tried my best to ignore it, brushing it off as an overactive imagination. Everything was fine until the lights in the upstairs hallway suddenly went out. We were all in a group, and none of us were physically close enough to the light switch to flip it. I noticed that my friend Alyssa was acting strange ever since we got back inside. She must have also felt the same dreadful presence that I did. Alyssa ended up calling her mother to come pick her up early. I never talked to her about why exactly she left that night. but the look in her eyes told me everything I needed to know. Alyssa's departure sort of broke the party's momentum, and everybody began to feel very uncomfortable. One by one, the other guests started to leave until it was only me, Samantha, and our mutual friend Chloe. While we were there alone, loud scratching sounds and random thuds began to echo throughout the old cabin. We went downstairs to see if maybe Samantha's father was messing with us, but no one was there. We decided to brush off the strange occurrences. It wasn't until about 3 o'clock a.m. we decided to head back upstairs and try to get some sleep. When we got to the top of the steps, we froze with absolute terror. A dark, thin black figure stood at the end of the hallway, and then, just as fast as it appeared, it disappeared into thin air right in front of us. We all screamed at the top of our lungs and ran to the bedroom, locking the door behind us. For some inexplicable reason, we still didn't take the hint and get the hell out of there. We grabbed some pillows and blankets and decided to sleep in the same bed, thinking that it wouldn't come for us if we were all together. Despite the unsettling feeling I had, I was still exhausted, so I ended up dozing off. But after about 5 minutes, I woke up to hear a low, menacing growl coming from the foot of the bed. I had gotten chills from head to toe. All I could do was lay there and pray that nothing would happen to us. I kept thinking, just ignore it and it will go away. I kept coaching myself to go back to sleep, but 10 minutes later, I hear the loudest growl I've ever heard in my entire life. The growl was loud enough to wake up everyone. That's when we made up our minds to get the hell out of there. We suddenly smelled a putrid stench, like a mixture of rotten eggs and sulfur. At this point, we had enough, and we decided to flee the cabin and never return. To this day, I still get chills whenever I talk about that night. I'm just happy we all made it out safely.